provides every service, or are there services that can be provided by the private sector? And if there is a cost analysis that determines that it's more cost effective to go through the private, then we should look at that option. And we should educate our residents and bring them into the fold so that they can also help make that decision.
Well, how do you do cost analysis if you're not even sure what the costs are or how much money you have? We've had major problems with bookkeeping in the city, not only the financial shortages, but accounting for the shortages. And we're now over 2 years into a new administration. We've been through 3 CFOs. Comments?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, yes, we have been through multiple CFOs, and I believe that goes back through leadership. Whether it's leadership from our city manager and leadership from the mayor and city council, making sure that we are reviewing those financials with them and holding those expectations and setting those expectations with the CFO so that they understand what we have to do. When I heard that we have an accounting program that a lot of the individuals in the accounting department don't even know how to use, or that it wasn't working properly, that should have thrown out a big red flag. We don't have internal controls. We don't have internal audits. Every company that I've worked for in the past has had internal audits. This is a system where it's your checks and balances internally, because you are accountable at the end of the day for the stockholder, so they expect you to give them a report showing them how well you are running your stores, how well you're running the company. But yet we only get a report once a year, or when we get this big audit.
The CAFR and the audit, right?
Yep. So when this took place.
Have you had a chance to look over the 107 audit findings and also the 128 operational deficiencies from the operational audit?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to see some of those, and honestly, it was quite shocking that there are a lot of inconsistencies where if there would have been just some internal controls, all of this would have been avoided. And I had an opportunity to see the city manager's plan for 2016, 2017, where he was indicating that there are certain goals that are going to be met on those 120 or so deficiencies. But I mean, at the end of the day, all of these items were things that city council, city managers should have been aware of.
Do you give them credit, though, for initiating those programs and seeing them through and supporting NIHOF to do it?
I definitely give them credit for bringing on board NIHOF, who I may not be 100% in agreement with his salary, because that seems to be a big issue that I've heard a lot of residents talk to me about, a lot of concerned residents. But I believe that he is putting in place the right processes that we need in order to help the city get back into financial footings.
Does that salary seem out of line for a $400 million CEO?
It would seem high compared to what other cities are paying. If you look at the city of Los Angeles, who has a strong mayor system, his salary, to the best of my knowledge, isn't quite as high. So, and there it's a multi-billion-dollar budget. So I would say that it would seem a little out of line from that perspective.
Yeah.
But I understand that at the time, it was the best option, because you have city leadership, whether it's in the council or the mayor's office, that don't truly understand the financials and understand how to run a business, because they haven't had that business experience. So it would make sense for them to try to get the best possible candidate they could bring in, regardless what they had to pay.
Yeah, okay. Just rotating a little bit. Harbors and the beaches are said by some to be the city's jewel, their best attraction.
Yeah.
I live in the harbor myself, and the lower harbor is, to me, a disgrace. What could we do to really exploit that for the benefit of the residents and also for bringing revenue in?
I think of we have to revitalize it. I mean, and the reality is we have to bring in new businesses, a new concept, so that we're bringing in whether it's more restaurants, entertainment. We have to do something to make it more vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when you say the word development, everybody says, no, we don't want that. People start screaming and up and down because they think of the development word, I call it the D word, a bad word. But development isn't necessarily bad if we're able to do it in a smart way.
Mm-hmm.
If we're able to do it so that it works well with the community and with the residents there.
Mm. The question for you there, you say we, but the harbor is under the control of the county, the harbor department, so Oxnard has very limited control. How can we assert better control to get what we want there?
Well, and I think that's what we have to look at. How do we work with the county so that they can help us to bring in those developments so that we can actually create a destination place for the community.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it will become a tourist spot, but first it has to be vibrant where our own residents are using it and are there constantly. Once that occurs, then it becomes a tourist spot naturally because people are going to want to go there.
If you go down there on Sunday afternoon, you'll see it's not exactly deserted now, but it's nothing like Ventura Harbor or Santa Barbara, which have been really developed and well run in comparison.
Yeah, and they're very successful models, and that's what we have to look at. How do we replicate that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a discussion that needs to be had.
Let's move inland a little bit to downtown.
Oh, yes,
I guess
yes.
you've seen what's happened in the last couple of years, all the turmoil about what to do about downtown, the recent charrettes where they've looked at the future vision of where it's going. What's your take on all that? What would you do?
You know, the downtown renovation is very interesting because I think we've done multiple failed attempts. We've done multiple failed attempts to try to revitalize downtown, and we haven't been successful. And I think the reason why the city hasn't been successful is because they're trying the same concept over and over again. You know, one of the things I used to always tell young managers is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. We need to do something different. And not that long ago, I believe there was the Council of New Urbanism, I believe it was called.
That's right.
They came down to the city and they helped draft a proposal. And I had an opportunity to look at this proposal. It's the urbanism proposal, which is creating mixed use. And with the mixed use, it'll allow that retail, commercial down below, maybe 4 or 5 story buildings above, allowing there to be housing there. That is actually a great concept because the downtown area is primed for it. The downtown area should be a place that should have a lot of constant activity taking place. And the only way to revitalize it, in my opinion, is to create it so that there is mixed use, so that you have a base of people that are already living in that area. You're able to extend those sidewalks, make it pedestrian friendly. And by doing that, now you're going to create a great tax base, a great revenue base. And you're also going to have what the millennials like. You know, our millennials are the next generation, right? They want to be in that closed environment with more people, socializing. They like the loft ideas. They're creative individuals that will hopefully continue to be entrepreneurs and bring in great ideas and stay in Oxnard versus leaving to somewhere else. So I believe that in order for the downtown to revitalize, we have to consider that proposal, and we have to consider the urbanization of that area.
2 days, the California Energy Commission is coming to Oxnard to conduct a hearing on whether or not they should approve and move forward with the NRG power plant reconstruction at Mandalay Beach, and to tear down the old power plant and remediate the site at Ormond Beach and also the old site in Mandalay. What's your take on the whole thing?
I'm against it. Plain and simple. I don't believe that Oxnard has already been taken advantage of in the sense that we've been put in multiple power plants down our coastline. You don't see that in Santa Barbara. You don't see that in other beautiful cities, but you do see it here. And some of those plants are